Hey there, farm game loving friends. Thank you for clicking. It's much appreciated and I hope you're having a great day. Been working on associated side projects in creative mode for Garden Paws. Among them was a place to put some ponies. I've been doing lots of game reviews lately, but I also wanted to keep the Garden Paws video playlist going strong. This build has gone to very creative mode, ending up in 2 stories with a garden and housing multiple stalls. Most are probably familiar with the game, but for those who aren't, this is a super relaxing farming and crafting simulation game. It contains both a story mode where you are a shopkeep to keep up your grandparents' farm, and a sandbox mode empty island with hundreds of buildable items in your menu. Doing this one in sandbox mode for fast building abilities, so we can just spawn unlimited furniture. At several points, I made a little blueprint of the layout used in hopes that it helps anyone trying to map a copy of this stable out. The top floor is one that may be a bit of a conflated design that could be improved on. Perhaps you'll come up with something better than this on your own stable construction. If you'd like to share your creations, there's a Discord link in the description. The construction was done in half sections for a smaller build. For the first half would still hold several pre-made stables for many horse color variants you may get while breeding. The first section is to build a primary part that includes a staircase to the upper floor behind the first stable. This section is 10 wooden foundations, the stable itself, a stone staircase, and a combination of doors, walls, and windows to wrap around the side of the staircase to give it an enclosed entry. From here, one could shrink this design to double stacking the stables and not add the new wing if you're looking for some more petite horse storage. You can build entire floors at once, but I've gone into sections putting in the floor above as well. This will be a large creation that takes quite a bit of materials if done in story mode. To go light on the glass, finishing up the next section for a half of a stable could also work to just line them up right next to each other, then stack some on top. Since this is creative mode, it means uncapped materials from the game's inventory to work with, so this version is merely decorative, though I could understand why in story mode players might opt to squeeze more stables for horse storage spaces. When packed tightly together or stacked on top, manure collection is an automated ease with beetles or robots. The second half of the build provides a more decorative area, but could be packed with some more stables or furniture instead. For this one, I've opted for a small greenhouse garden and an outside display pen for the top floor. Maybe someday I'll have a purple horse to put in it. For those unfamiliar with the game, breeding comes along your quest line, and baby animals can be a surprise range of colors in addition to the colors designated to the initial models. It's a nice incentive to keep using your breeding pens, and the developers at Bitten Toast have been adding to the list of animals that you can breed with on most updates. While working on finishing this up, I found a little clip on how in the heckin' we ever got to measuring horsepower, related to power output, typically referring to engines. Believe it or not, it's actually related to the work that horses can do, so let's find out how that happened in history, and explain how this ever came to be.
Horsepower. We owe the horsepower unit of engine power measurement to Scottish engineer James Watt. In the early 1780s, after making a vastly superior steam engine to the then classic Newcomen steam engine, Watt was looking for a way to market his invention, advertising the fact that his engine used about 75% less fuel than a similarly powered Newcomen, among many other improvements. At first, he tried selling his engine on a royalty scheme, where the customers would owe him 1/3 of the money they saved using his engine over other steam engines. Of course, many at the time used horses, not steam engines, so it was difficult to compare them without actually buying trying the engine to see how it would perform for their particular usage. Thus, he scrapped the royalty scheme and decided to try a different tact to convince people to buy his engine. Ever the inventor, his solution was to come up with a new unit of measurement that those in need of his engine understood: horsepower, referring to powerful draft horses. Thus, he set about determining how much power a typical draft horse could generate. It isn't known exactly how he came up with the numbers he did, as there are conflicting accounts of the experiments he ran, but after doing those experiments, he figured out that a typical draft horse could do about 32,400 foot-pounds of work in 60 seconds and maintain that power rate for a good long workday. He then rounded up, going with 33,000 foot-pounds per minute for 1 horsepower. So, in other words, by his estimates, a good draft horse could lift 33,000 pounds of material 1 foot in 1 minute, or 3,300 pounds of material 10 feet in 1 minute, etc. In truth, that's a very generous estimate, as few horses could maintain that kind of power for a full workday, but getting a perfect figure wasn't that important to what Watt was trying to do. Further, by overestimating what a horse could do, whether intentionally or not, he made sure that his product would always over-deliver what he said when trying to get people to buy it, which is a great word-of-mouth marketing trick. In the end, Watt's engine was revolutionary and played a huge role in the Industrial Revolution. Thanks to this fact, his unit of measure of an engine's power, horsepower, also became popular. Funny enough, today the SI unit of power, the watt, which was named in homage to James Watt, has widely come to replace horsepower in most applications. Bonus fact: while Watt came up with the exact measurements of what would become horsepower, he was not the first to propose the idea of equating a steam engine's power to a horse's. The first documented instance of this was suggested by British inventor Thomas Savery, who wrote the following letter in 1702. "So that an engine which will raise as much water as 2 horses, working together at one time in such a work, can do, and for which there must be constantly kept 10 or 12 horses for doing the same. Then I say such an engine may be made large enough to do the work required in employing 8, 10, 15 or 20 horses to be constantly maintained and kept for doing such a work."
Learning can be a great way to pass time when you're bored. So is getting creative on Garden Paws. According to recent testing, creativity has been on the decline for a couple decades now as a byproduct of our fast-paced lives that we pretty constantly fill with entertainment. Our cell phones made that way too easy and tempting to do. It can also be good just to step away from the machines, to think without distraction for a little bit each day, and that will help people regenerate their creative streak back. Don't be afraid to get started. Nothing has to come out right the first time. Just start throwing down foundations and walls. Eventually, buildings take shape. The awesome thing about virtual spaces is no budget constraints on remodels or concerns about load-bearing structures. Grab a hammer to disappear the parts you don't think will fit well and try something different. The limited brick growing list of crafting parts go together nicely. With the help of an item shifter and some problem solving, those pieces can be adjusted into more and more elaborate building ideas. Through doing this, I've lost hours and hours on the game, but it can be satisfying to create. Perhaps you feel experiences like this when you two are painting, writing, photographing, making digital art, or innovative new technologies. There are many ways to get some satisfaction out of being creative. Feel free to copy tips from these builds and make them into whatever you can think up. I'm just hoping to encourage more builders to strut their stuff in this neat little indie game. Always enjoy browsing the screenshots from other builders to see what they have come up with, and I'm amazed at the different ways that people find to utilize one building material to be repurposed for something else. Garden Paws Discord is full of brilliant architects. Maybe you should come join us and share a little bit yourself. If it's looking a little plain after you're done adding a roof, you can get out the paintbrushes for some styling, or to get all your parts on the roof to match up in textures between the regular and curved ramps. One could opt for glass foundations in place of wood if they want skylights. Those can be tinted with a paintbrush as well. Interchanging brick or wood-paneled walls can give a little extra dimension and color to your project. I'm taking suggestions on what to build next. I hope to see you around. If you're interested in Garden Paws building ideas, consider subbing, as there will be more videos like this one between game reviews on titles with similar features. Thank you for sticking around this long. It's time to finish up the stables, and I'll drop a preview for the next project too. Take care all. Bye-bye!